The principle of follow-through and overlapping will help you a lot to refine your animation and make it more realistic and fluid. Behind this principle, there's a simple rule. Things don't stop at the same time, but some parts stop first and the others follow the action. What's follow-through and overlap mean? Follow-through is the principle that a part of the body follows the movement of another part, the leading one, with a bit of delay. Example, when you have a stop, a part stops first and another one has a delay, so it will stop in a different time. Overlapping action is the principle that some parts have different timing compared to the other parts, so they overlap the main action. Example, during a movement like a walk cycle, a part overlaps the main action. The leading one has a timing, but another one has a different one. Want to apply this principle? We can use them to delay each part of the body. For human characters, we can apply this principle on several parts: arms, neck and head, upper chest, legs, hair. All these parts will move with a bit of delay compared to the main part of the body that leads the movement. For animal or anthropomorphic characters, we can also have some different elements like long ears or tails to animate using this principle. How to know which part leads the action? It's quite simple. If you analyze for 1 second the movements, you should be able to recognize which part leads the action. During a jump, the legs lead. During an head turn, the head or the eyes leads. And during a walk, the hip and the feet lead. During an acting, it depends. For example, if you have a main action based on an arm gesture, well, the arm leads the action. So when you know which parts lead, you just have to delay the other parts that are dragged by the leading one. Don't forget that at the beginning of the action, these parts react to the movement of the leading one by moving in the opposite direction. In this example, we have a simple arm movement. The shoulder and the upper part of the arm lead the movement. So when they start to move forward, the forearm reacts, moving in the opposite direction. Then we have the same reaction on the wrist and the fingers. When the leading parts arrive to a stop, the forearm, the wrist and the fingers stop with a delay and different timing. So the arm and the shoulder drag the lower part of the arm, and during these movements you can also break some joints and use the formats to emphasize the delay and the arcs. So at first animate the upper part, the leading one, then the lower arm, the wrist, and last add the fingers animation. You can also delay each finger from the others or even the single parts of the finger. To complete the movement, you can add a moving hold to avoid a sudden stop, keeping a slight bit of motion for all these parts for more frames. Or you can add a settle. After the stop, all these parts go back and forth for a few times, always decreasing the motion and keeping the delay between a part and another. Or you can just use the combination of moving hold and settle based on the speed and the weight of the different parts. How to manage follow-through, overlapping action, moving hold and settle depends on the type of speed of the motion and the length and the weight of the parts that follow the movement. Another situation where you need to apply this principle is when your characters have some clothes, like a hat, a scarf, a coat, or a skirt. These elements will have the follow-through and the overlap just like the body parts. The body movement drags these elements and they will react in different ways, depending on the type of clothes, the material's weight, and the speed of the movement. A good way to manage and animate parts with follow-through and overlap is to visualize the body as sections. The chest could be split in 3 sections that will have different timing. An arm could be split in 5 parts, shoulder, arm, forearm, hand, fingers, and the same for the legs. Or a tail could be split in different sections as well. The upper part to lead the movement, so you have to move this part first, and the second one will follow this movement. The third one will follow the second one, and so on. Making an example, compared to the main section, the second one could have a delay of 1 frame, the third one a delay of 2 frames, and so on. In this way, your movement will change a lot and will result more smooth and realistic. Do the same for objects and parts of the character, and the practice will help you to naturally apply this principle in the right way. In this lesson, we will talk about how to compose our shots to better represent a story, how we choose to put our camera, the characters, and the use of the environment and props to set the scene. It's called staging. A good staging is what allows us to read and understand what's going on in the shot. The user's eye must be led in the right direction, where the action is taking place. If we just have a character expression, this must be readable and framed in the right way. Some directing knowledge are fundamental. The way we put the camera makes a big difference. What we must do is to find the way to represent an idea, the action, the expression, or the character mood in the best, more clear, and more convincing way as possible. Let's see now some of the main type of shots and some common terms. Establishing shot is a shot where we see the location, and it's usually used as a first shot to let know the users where the action is taking place. Long shot. It shows the characters from a long distance. It's usually used to communicate to the user the character in relation with the environment. Full shot shows the entire body character with the environment still visible and clear, and we can also read the character expression and mood. Medium shot. usually shows the upper body character from a medium distance in order to clearly show the expression and gesture, but we still can see a partial view of the background. Close-up, usually it's a face frame to better show emotions, but it's also used to put the focus on a prop or something important that is happening, and we must focus the attention with the camera really close to it. Point of view is when we use the camera as the eyes of the characters, so we can see through the eyes of the characters, at the same height, at the same distance from another character or something else we want to show. Pan is when we rotate the camera to follow a character movement. Track is when we translate the camera to follow a movement or to create a track in and track out to get close or far from the character. Camera shake can be used with very fast movement of the camera and in 1 or 2 frames, for example during a big impact. Focal length determines how big your character will result in the frame and can also be animated to give a dramatic effect to a shot. Hookup is the consistency between a shot and another in sequence order. We must keep this consistency in the character's position, gestures, expression, but also in the speed of the gesture, action, or camera movement if this starts in a shot and ends in the following one. These are just some few terms and type of shot, but let's now see some example. If we have a medium shot showing the upper body character, we have some simple rules to follow to better frame the character. Focus the attention on the character, posing it in the middle of the screen or at least in a third of it. Visualize your screen split in 3 sections and use them to pose your character. Pose the character on 3/4 profile to have a more interesting and dynamic composition, unless it's strictly required to show him frontally. It's important to leave the empty space in front of the character and not behind. Also, keep a bit of air in top of the character. When you set your camera in Maya, first set your resolution and then turn on the resolution gate from View Camera Setting to see exactly your frame. If we have a dialogue between 2 characters, so we create a series of cutscenes from a character speaking to the other, we could have a first full shot showing both of them in front of each other, pose them so that we can see the face. So we have 2 characters, one on the right and one on the left. When we will create the following medium shots showing just one of them speaking, we must keep a consistency with this position. So the character on the right will always be framing in the right part of the screen, and the opposite for the other one, in order to don't confuse the user. We can also show a part of the other character, for example the shoulder, but always keeping him in the right screen side. If we have a medium or long shot where your character is doing an acting or an action, put the camera or the object where you want to lead the focus, in the middle of the screen or, as I said before, in at least a third of it. Don't put your characters too much on the side to avoid a big and boring empty space, unless something is going to happen in this part. So plan his movements. If you know that he will move on the right, you could start putting him in the left part of the screen in order to leave a bit of space in front of him, or use a camera adjustment during this movement. Staging is also related to the timing we choose to show different actions. If we have a group of characters talking, they will not talk all at once, so when one is talking, the other are listening, and make them look at him in order to lead the user eye on the character speaking, but keep them alive with some little movement, like an eye blink or just a change in weight, but don't add a big gesture that could move the attention from the main character. When the other ones start to speak, all the other moves in his direction. So the same for the user. Now the attention moves on this new character. If a new one is coming, all the others could stop and look in the screen area where he's coming. But you could also add a little camera adjustment to introduce him. In general, finish an action before start a new one, so that the user can easily and clearly read everything happening in the scene. Also, the environment is important. Keep your character silhouette enough clear so that also his gesture and action will be completely readable. Compose your shot using the environment's element to support the performance.